Welcome to Tech Bites with Dan Hafner, your gateway to the future of innovation and technology. Dive into the exciting world of software where cutting-edge tech meets creativity. Explore no-code solutions that empower businesses to thrive without traditional barriers. Hear inspiring stories from tech pioneers and industry leaders who are changing the game. Join us on Tech Bites and transform the way you think about technology and business.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. We are in a new, well, I shouldn't say we're in a new era. We're just kind of rolling. We're up over 400 episodes now. I've been talking to you guys and teasing this big episode 400 reveal, this is probably one of the first or maybe the second episodes after that. So it is, it's a new, I guess it's kind of a new era, but it's a new benchmark, just another milestone along the path of this wild and awesome show that I've been running for so many years. So welcome into another episode. My name is Dan Hafner. Thank you all for joining. Before we go any further, please always like and subscribe and share the show if you do find value in it. That is always very, very much appreciated. And if you do that, you can get alerts of when the next episode of the No Code Advantage will come out. We've dropped, I think, 3 or 4 of those episodes at this point in the podcast. We have many, many more to go. We're going to go through at least 10 episodes of that No Code Advantage series. So that is just something that I've been putting together for some of you who asked about these types of things for the show. If you're interested at all in no code, if you're, have questions about it, trying to go through from very basic 5th grade, 4th grade level stuff to more advanced things with that. So if you subscribe to the show, you get alerts when the next episode of that drops. So today we're going to talk about hiring. We're going to talk about culture. For some of you who are in the show that listen, you might have startups already. You might have tech products. Maybe you're running a scale up at this point. How do you actually, navigate this game of hiring? I've been in and out of the hiring game, not at high levels. I still run a very, small agency myself. But being in having some experience in this, I can kind of attest to some of the problems and the pain points and the not fun things of hiring and managing people and leading people. And how do you do that? Like it can be quite an interesting dynamic. So we're lucky enough to have a guest here join us today, Dr. Michael Neal. He is going to talk a little bit about this. He built an entire process around this through a private practice of his, and now he's transitioned it into teaching other people how they go about this. So I'm very, very excited to ask him some questions, be a fly on the wall for this one. So welcome to the show, Dr. Neal. How are you?
I'm having a great time so far. That was a great intro. Thanks, Dan.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I've done it hundreds of times at this point, So I think I got it down.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well. Okay. So I gave you a little bit of edification. Give us the 30-second rundown of who you are and how you got to what you do.
Yeah, you bet. I'm a practicing eye doctor. I have a private practice in northeastern Pennsylvania, and Build My Team came out of our hiring problems that we had in the practice, hiring people based upon using resumes and not based upon their natural strengths and talents. So long story short is we created a system, it's a SaaS platform, I can say that since the audience obviously knows what that is, but a SaaS platform that hires people based upon their natural strengths and talents and their fit for the position. It's not based upon using resumes, not based upon experience, but instead just based upon what they are absolutely positively naturally gifted at and fitting those people into the positions that require those gifts.
It's a great product. That's a great product. Just as a side note before we get into that, fellow Pennsylvanian, I love it. That was, a hint for you guys, when you're reaching out to people, if you find like a local connection, that always helps. I love to talk to fellow local people. But so what's the SaaS platform called?
Build My Team.
Build My Team. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, is it specifically for eye doctors? Is it specifically for those? Okay.
No, any administrative clerical type positions. So if you're looking for a secretary, a bookkeeper, customer service, it runs a gamut of any type of clerical or administrative type position. Those positions are very difficult to hire well for because all the resumes look the same. You have no idea what the person's naturally good at. And what we're able to do is we've systematized the process of bringing in A players, B plus players to your team.
Wow, that's genius. You know, it's funny when you say, you know, the hiring people based on what they're good at. I've gone through a few programs recently. I think it was the end of last year, and I've told a lot of people about these since. And you might know what I'm talking about as far as assessments like the Colbier Index,
Sure.
the DISC assessment. I'm sure you guys probably are familiar with that. But those were amazing. So for any of you who don't know about those, it's just answering a set of questions and then it spits out these. You know, it's kind of freaky at some point. You're like, how does this thing know me this well? But that's really interesting because what that has allowed me to do is to realize what I'm good at, what I want to focus on, and things that I just suck at and I should not be wasting my time on and should delegate. So is that kind of what this system is?
More complex than that. Okay. What our approach is we're trying to we're not on the self-discovery bandwagon, if you will. We're trying to solve an extraordinarily specific business problem. Right. And that is to match incoming candidates. Well, first of all, find as many incoming candidates as possible and then match them to that open position for our clients. Our approach is a little bit different. We're not looking for like the proverbial right person. We're approaching it backwards from that aspect. We're approaching it from we're going to rule out everybody we know cannot do the job, and the ones left over will pick the best person. And by doing that, for example, we need as many applicants as possible. So this is a big funnel. It's just an absolutely big funnel. Where we publish the job descriptions that we write for our clients. They go out to 20 different job boards. We want as many candidates as possible to apply because almost all of them are rejected. And we filter this down through our assessment process that we have. And that gets filtered all the way down to our SaaS platform, giving the candidates that we know can do the job based upon their strengths and talents a thumbs up. That's the outcome of our automation, is a thumbs up on the candidate. And at that point, we're 97% certain they can do those jobs. However, we take it one step further. So the SaaS platform is terrific, but we take it one step further because we're dealing with people. We send them a one-way video interview. The video interview is received by our team when it's completed. And what the team does is take a look at it, not necessarily for how they answer or what they say in their answers to the questions. It's how they answer them. That's what we're looking for. That's the intangible part of this, because we want to know how they're going to represent your business. You know, whether, you know, if you're a funky startup that's super cool and all that, well, great. You don't want somebody on your team that's necessarily the exact polar opposite of that. Conversely, it all depends on the type of fit for the client. We don't care what the people look like. We don't care if they're male or female. We don't care if they're green with little antennas on top of their head. None of that stuff matters. It's only about performance and the fit to the position.
Yeah, I mean, that brings us to the topic, like I said at the beginning, of culture. Is that's very interesting, because not only is it getting that's part of hiring is okay. We might have the most qualified person who's going to kick ass at this position, but we've all been in jobs before where we're just kind of like, maybe we don't really meet the culture very well, or we're the you know, the black sheep, so to speak, kind of there, or things like that. So that's really that's very amazing. So what are some of the ways that or I guess let me phrase the question this way. What are some of the problems that particular piece solves inside of the hiring process, other than like the obvious like culture fit?
Oh boy, there's a lot of them. Removes discrimination. Because the software can't discriminate. It doesn't know what that means. It's not part of the equation. And, you know, talking to a lot of software developers on this podcast, it's just not part of the spec to pick people out based on that. They're solely picked based upon strengths and talents. And then from there, we also have what we call some knockout questions, which do the job of just streamlining the candidate process. If they live a long ways away from your business, if you need them to be in person, that's not going to work out. If they can't work your hours, that's not going to work out. If they want $50 an hour and your business can offer 25, hey, great, that's not going to work out either. Things like that. So our software does that level of streamlining as well. And I think from that perspective, we really tend to focus down from the entire top of the funnel to just having a couple come out of this process, and that's what we send over to our clients for them to make a decision based upon their whoever's going to be the best fit.
Okay. And so this software for you guys, just as a refresher, is called Build My Team. Where can we check it out?
BuildMyTeam.com.
BuildMyTeam.com. Very, very simple.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's get into this a little bit. So how did you come up with this idea? Because it's that's one question I like to ask when people that have built SaaS platforms. There's always kind of it's like a Russell Brunson thing. It's like an origin story, like the
Sure.
problem that you ran into.
Yeah.
What problems were you facing? How did this idea come to be?
Well, necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And we were hiring wrong. We were doing it was just a disastrous process that we had. When you're hiring wrong, you have a process, you're following it, and it's just getting you awful results. So I took a look at how some extremely successful companies were doing their hiring, and they were hiring based upon a similar approach, based upon the strengths and talents and making sure people are a great fit. And not in a subjective way, but in a way that's quantified. And it turns out you can do that. You can measure aspects of humans in their performance, how they handle stress, for example. Are they detail oriented? There's all kinds of. We have after a candidate goes through our process, we have 37 pages of information about them.
Wow,
it's remarkable. And that's how tight the fit is to those positions. And it's one of the reasons why people stay so long as well. So this all started with we had to find a better way.
And this was inside of your practice, you're saying?
Yep. It turned out that it's pretty successful for us. And, we have a feedback loop built into everything. So it just gets better and better and better because of the feedback loop. And we can adjust based on that. Started to do that for some friends, started to do that for some other folks, and then next thing you know, hey, maybe this is a problem that a lot of small businesses have, and that's where we started to grow.
That's awesome. So speaking of that, what has the growth looked like? How has things been going for it?
Well, we are in over 40 states. We have clients in over 40 states in 10 different healthcare professions specifically. Other non-healthcare professions, but it doesn't matter whether you're in healthcare or not. If you have a business that requires in-person help, folks to show up at your business in administrative or clerical roles, then that's what we excel at.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, you mentioned just in your answer before, like kind of doing this in a different way. And that's kind of the beauty of a lot of, like you said, necessity is the mother of all invention. It's like this, it's almost like a Steve Jobs kind of mentality of thinking counterculture, like the ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
It's this, okay, how is everyone doing this? I think about this in terms of an investing perspective, right? Like they always say, like what does Warren Buffett say? Like when everyone's selling, you should be buying, like kind of going against the grain.
Yep.
Now you mentioned before we hit record here that like you actually don't look at resumes till the very end, which I was like, well, I want to ask about that. That's because one would think you post a job, you collect resumes, you look at those resumes, you make a decision based on that. Now you guys do the opposite. So explain to me this. I'm curious.
Yeah. So our approach is data driven. It's purely data driven hiring, and what I mean by that is the data that we are getting from the candidates. We're not asking them, hey, you handle stress well.
Yeah.
Hey, you follow process.
Like
check this. Right. These aren't like radio button type of yes or no approaches. It's based upon an area of psychology called psychometrics, where you measure that type of thing. Some can be measured, some cannot. And so when we take a look at this and this kind of approach with the data-driven hiring, we're not making decisions based upon like an interview process. We're not basing them based upon a resume. A resume is a really awesome history of your work as you describe it. That's it.
As you describe it. Yeah.
Right. And you're in a sales situation. You have to sell yourself to the employer. The really high-end hiring teams for some of the employers, like especially on the software side, they're going to put you through the gears. They're going to make sure you actually know. Ask me, Dan, can I code? Well, I'm going to say yes, of course I can code, Dan. I can code all kind. I can do everything you need me to do, Dan, because I really want the job. The reality is that's rarely the case. So, software runs you through the gamut of that to prove it, and I understand that. For other type of positions, it's very hard to prove that, especially on like the administrative clerical side of things. And for entry-level management, very hard to prove as well. So by using resumes, what you are doing is you are inheriting all of the problems with that approach. And ours eliminates that to the point of just being minimal. And when I say minimal, when we have those finalist candidates that the software gives the thumbs up for, we look at the resume and we can say, do you have experience or any type of domain expertise for this role? If the answer is yes, then terrific. You found a unicorn, somebody who's a terrific fit for the role and they have some level of experience. That's rarely the case. And we're talking about a couple percent of candidates have that level of experience where it's a positive. Most of the time it's the opposite, where you're going to come in for these roles and you're going to have experience. Now that tells me we're going to have to untrain you.
Yeah.
We're going to have to unlearn. You know how hard it is for humans to anything? It just doesn't work well. So our approach with how we do it is we measure, one of the first things we do is we measure their speed of learning. And the folks who learn very quickly go through our process. The folks who don't learn very quickly, they don't do well in our process. They gently and politely exit out of it. And that's so that we guarantee that the people we're bringing to our clients have the ability to learn quickly. Therefore, experience isn't much of a big deal at all, because now you're learning the way that the new employer wants you to learn. You're learning the job from their perspective. You're not learning the job from somebody's perspective that has no applicability to this new role. It's about a 3 to 4 times faster process if you're lucky. That's if you're lucky. If you hire for experience versus our approach, sometimes you just never get off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I remember trying to get jobs out of college, and I remember like everyone was always like, okay, how in the world am I supposed to qualify for this job that requires 10 years of experience and a college degree when I'm literally just getting out of college, you know?
Yeah. And see, our approach would be if you were, we've done this so many times. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your background is. In fact, one of our top front desk people has a music background. We had another person who used to work at a deli counter. We've had people from all walks of life, and I'm talking about our own practice, so I can tell you these stories directly. They come in without experience, without any expertise and anything to do with what we think we're hiring them for, and they excel because they're a natural fit. I guess the take home from the resume side is prioritizing the wrong thing. There's that old adage, you climb the ladder as fast as you can. That's terrific, but what if it's leaning against the wrong wall?
That's a good one.
And that's how resumes essentially lead you down that path. So why do people hire using resumes? Well, generally there's not a better solution. I mean, we have one, it's dialed. But it's also based on momentum and inertia. That's what everybody does. That's what it's always been, right?
Yeah. I'm a big metaphor fan, so I'm going to steal that one from you for sure.
Yeah.
I really like or analogy or whatever you want to call it. Okay, cool. Now another thing I wanted to ask you about too, is the big bad ugly wolf in the market today, AI, right? I think you mentioned this before we hit record about kind of maybe using some AI or lack thereof, or the benefits, the drawbacks to it. So So I guess my question would be, one, is there any kind of AI involved in the process that you have? And two, like, what, I guess maybe the follow-on question to that is, what kind of broader market things are you seeing that AI is doing for good or for bad when it comes to hiring in this world of staffing?
Right. So on our side, we use algorithms, and the algorithms are designed for each position as to what we're looking for. From an AI standpoint, those are incredibly effective. Like, we've hit 97% certainty on the positions that we're hiring for. I don't know how to get it to 98.
Wow.
We'll keep trying, but they're so tight that we have like the fit is so tight that we guarantee all of our positions. As far as the AI side of things go, a while ago, this blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. AI guy uploads his resume. The software applied for something like 49,000 jobs for the guy.
49,000 jobs.
Yeah. I think his response rate was something like 0.15 or something along those lines. And that out of those 49,000 applications, the AI got him 15 interviews. This was the case study I read. Wow. From an applicant standpoint, this is the best thing ever. I got 15 interviews. Okay, for what? I have no idea. What do you mean you have no idea? I have no idea. I've never heard of it. I have never heard of these people. I didn't apply. I don't have the faintest clue what any of these companies are, what they do. Now, an entrepreneurial type person will research the heck out of that and figure it out. But that candidate had no clue if they were even a good fit for the positions. They didn't know if they were a bad fit for the positions because they don't even know what the positions are.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting brute force approach that AI will do for you. Imagine you flip this. Flip it to the employer side of things. Okay? Imagine the workload, the overhead for the business for 49,000 of these businesses to determine if that resume is somebody that they want to bring in and hire. Trying to make those types of decisions. Okay? Now they're using AI on the other side a lot of times to look at the resumes. But what that is you've developed a robot climber up the ladder. But the ladder's against the wrong wall. They're still using resumes. They're still looking at these work histories.
Yeah.
So, where that works great, I'll give you an example, is let's say you're a SaaS salesperson at, pick on companies, Salesforce, and you want to be, you're applying for a SaaS position at some other, one of their competitors. Okay, great. You might want to take a look at those folks. That's an interesting use case for it. For anything that we're involved in, that's disastrous, because we generally focus on the administrative and clerical side of things, where our all-time record, I'll give you an example of how bad this is. Our all-time record was we got a person, position with a medical practice who had a 4-line resume.
4 lines.
4 lines. That included their address. 4 lines. That's it. Now, granted, it was well formatted. It was wrapped. Like, it wasn't just like my name, my address, the rest of it. It was a 4-line resume. They got the position. That's our all-time record. And that just tells you that, you have to be kidding me that a person would have a 4-line resume. Guess what? They didn't have the faintest clue how to make a resume. That's obvious by the fact that it was 4 lines. But it didn't change a thing about how outstanding they were for that job.
All I think of when I hear that is, like, you remember the movie The Social Network, where he has this the I'm the CEO bitch card.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think of. Of like, I'm the best person for this job, and AI is like, okay, great. That's super interesting, because what you made me think of is, like, it's almost like the AI war of like there's a lot of jobs we'll submit requests for bids for,
Yeah.
and they have specific things that say do not use AI generated responses. This will be denied, and yet you read the bid and it's clearly generated by AI, and it's like, that's a double standard. What are you talking about? Like, if you can post something with AI, shouldn't I have a right to respond with this too? But I get like it's like, I feel like that's only a race down. I don't feel like that's a race.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
Went through this with our kids. They got 11 and 13-year-old boys. They were not allowed to use AI to help them with school. So what do kids do? They found AI that they could use to help them with school with specific features where the AI had additions to it so that it wouldn't get caught by the AI that the school was using to look for AI. And what this is essentially is an arms race. But as you said, you're not going up, you're going down, because the process they're following is flawed to begin with. So you have a solution to a problem that needs to be fixed in a different way.
Yeah, this is where your solution and your way of thinking is so genius, because the way you're looking at it is you're testing the person's ability to learn and to adapt and what they're truly gifted and good at, which cannot be AI generated. It's either there or you either got it or you don't.
Well, we're dealing with people, and so
it's interesting.
I've got a really interesting story about this. That when it came from candidates within Build My Team and the video interviews that I was describing to you. The video interviews only send out to the candidates we know can do the job. So they're in the final stretches of basically being recommended to our clients to hire. And the video interviews, 10 questions, they do it from their phone, and they can record their answers to the question, and then it uploads all to our platform. Well, now follow me on this, because this is really out there. When we first started using the video interviews, what ended up happening is that we would have folks, generally younger women, who would do this, and deep breath everybody, they would film their video interview standing in the shower, in the bathtub, okay, wearing their interview outfits, the best suit jackets they've got. And we're like, what the heck is going on? Because this happened once and then happened again and again and again. Different people, different kind of approaches to this. Because we got a lot of people applying for these jobs. And so we're trying to figure out what on earth is going on. And then the light bulb went off. Why do you think they were doing that, Dan? What's your guess?
I'm trying to run through in my mind why. I don't know if there's, part of me thinks, well, maybe there's just a clean background there. Maybe there's an audio thing that goes on there with the echoing in the bathroom. And then part of it also goes to, thoughts of women in the shower. Like, I don't know. Like, there's,
okay,
I'm just trying to think of anything,
Yeah. So what it was, it's not women in the shower. They were physically standing there. I think we had some guys.
You never know in this world, Mike. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we had some guys do it too. But what it was is you got a person who has extremely few resources. They close the door to the bathroom to separate themselves from the pets, from the kids. Why the bathroom? Well, that might be the one room in the house that has outstanding acoustics. It's got terrific lighting, right? And so now you're doing a video interview. You want yourself to, you don't want to look like the crypt keeper on this thing. You want to look like somebody who's a superstar. And when they're standing there in their suit jacket, their pants, and they're all dressed up, standing in their tub, what we realize is, oh my goodness, this is a rock star. This is a superstar. This is somebody who has almost no resources. They've capitalized on all of them. I'm telling you, if you own a startup, this is who you want to hire. I mean, it's remarkable because you give them almost no resources and they make themselves shine.
Huh. I would not have thought that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I see okay, so it's like when you don't have access to 900 things, what are you able to make of what you have?
Right.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay, I was on the much wrong path with that, but hey, that's all right.
Yeah, not that kind of hiring. But going back to that Steve Jobs reference and stuff, I'm by no means a genius. What I did was I entered this process of trying to solve this problem completely ignorant. I didn't know the bad habits. I didn't know the good habits. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. What I was simply trying to do is solve a problem so thoroughly that we could just put this to bed. We would come out of this with a process. The process would continue to work and solve our problems. And it did so and continues to do so. In our practice, Build My Team does all the hiring. I haven't hired anybody directly in our practice for years. It's all done by the team. And the results, because they're data driven and we're making decisions based on data about the person, we use a tool called our Insight Report. So it's a couple-page kind of executive summary about the person's strengths and talents, and that's what the decisions are based on. And so by using that approach, it's like we're hiring with the lights on. We're hiring with complete focus versus just walking into an interview and asking people what they're good at, what their strengths are. I mean, folks have no idea. They have so little idea about what they're actually good at. It is shocking. Interesting.
I'm just kind of thinking how I would have reacted in a market like this when I was trying to find my first job. I kind of wonder.
Well, I'll tell you what happens. Yeah, the A players, the really terrific folks, are drawn to this like a moth to the flame, because in our hiring process, we're extremely specific and decisive. We know exactly who we're looking for. And when you take candidates at the kind of the low end of the spectrum, maybe the C and D players, they're not too excited about this because out of the gate they're like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna make the cut. Yeah, you're probably right. On the A player side of things, oh wow, these guys really know who they're looking for. Can you imagine how great their team is? Like, I want to work with those people because performers want to work with performers. An A player wants to only work with A players. They'll tolerate B players, and they quit because of C or D players.
Interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. This has been really, really insightful. I'm really excited to learn more about this. So tell us again. It's called buildmyteam.com. You can go check it out.
Buildmyteam.com. Anybody listening want to schedule a consultation, just give us a holler, and we'll figure out if we can help your business. And if we can, we will walk through how to do that. It's very affordable, shockingly so. And I think that our goal is to really help as many people as we can.
Yeah, I definitely can see how this can help both people looking for jobs and firms hiring and such. So yeah, this has been very, very insightful. Thank you so much, Dr. Neal. I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dan. Yeah, exciting.
This has been very, very cool. So yeah, I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. Be sure to check out buildmyteam.com. It sounds like a very, very cool. I can't vouch for it myself, but I'm definitely going to look into this because this sounds like it solves a lot of the problems that I've run into in the past. Yeah. Now, that is about it. That's all I got for this show. I kind of lost my spaced out there for a minute. I'm very, very sorry. Sorry, you guys. But that is it. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Check out buildmyteam.com and then subscribe and get notifications either on YouTube or Spotify so you can be notified of the next episode drop. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Neal, for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Fantastic.
Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bites, your go-to show for software business and technology. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our latest episodes, insights, and stories. Hungry for more? Dive deeper into the world of no-code by visiting dapanacode.com. Your journey to building amazing software without coding skills starts there. Connect with like-minded creators and unlock a world of resources tailored just for you. Subscribe now. Explore Dapper No Code and let's innovate together.